afternoon, everybody. Hi, I'm John Bradway with Captech, here today to talk about the future of data and how it will impact sports. So we'll do a quick overview of who Captech is and why we're here, the role of data in sports to set some foundations, talk specifically about data in golf, and then what we see going forward and where the opportunities might be in sports and beyond. So first, Captech is a national consulting firm. We work across every sector, primarily in the United States, but do a lot of greenfield, complex technology, custom development projects, a lot of modernization work across data, technology, design, product. We're very values-oriented and culture-driven, and I think we're a delivery-first organization, which helps us to deliver, partner with our clients in the best possible way. I have the luxury of working in sports, media, and entertainment. It's a really fun topic. Lots going on in the space. In sports and media, we primarily work with sports leagues, the rights holders, but also with teams, media companies, sports marketers, and the sports technology firms that power a lot of the innovation that's occurring. We work across our full slate of services to build those new products, those new services, modernize the data and technology platforms that are enabling them to grow, and really excited to talk about some of that today. As for me, I have a background in sports and media. I started my career at Turner Broadcasting. I've done 2 data and media-oriented startups, batting 500 on those, so have some level of success there, and we'll influence that in today. So that's a little bit of the background, and we'll start with just a kind of a basic foundation of what we see and how we see sports impacting how data is impacting sports. So first, competition data. So think about scoring, the attributes of play. What are the conditions on the field of play that are impacting the outcome of a game? What's important there is accuracy, timeliness, to get the shelf life of the data, to be able to use it and consume it while you're watching the game. Second, fan data. This is about how you as an individual follow the sports, the teams, the players that you love, so that we can create personalization for you. Obviously, the data is very it's much more private. You don't want that out there, people to know things about you, but it can provide a lot of context for how a sports league or a team can engage with you to make your experience on game day, whether you're in the arena or at home, better. And then finally, operations data. So what's happening about the event? How much time is left in the game? What's the weather? What's the traffic outside the venue? All of those secondary and tertiary data sources can inform how you're going to perceive the game and how you're going to enjoy it. And we can use that to help create levers to drive engagement and drive context on the field. So at Captech, everyone's heard about Moneyball, how people are using all this data to improve performance on the field. That's great, we love it. We supply a lot of the data, work with partners to supply the data to those entities. We focus more on the fan experience and how the data can drive engagement around the product of sport and even expand what that product of sport looks like. So that's where we play. So a click deeper on competition data for a moment. It's been around for a long time, right? So I remember looking at the newspaper growing up, looking at box scores, understanding what happened the night before where my parents would let me stay up late. That's still there. It's the same data. What's changed is now it's available in real time. So the ability to innovate and build products that augment the game experience on game day and beyond is right there for us. So that's what's driven the growth in digital. That's what's driven the growth in gaming and sports betting. You start to see different stories being told on TV because of the data. If you watch the NFL, you see next-gen stats is a big part of their broadcast, and there's even secondary multicast that bring that data forward. Fantasy football, something a lot of us probably play. All of that drives deeper engagement in and around the game, on game day, but it also creates new revenue sources. And that's where, whether that's from a direct-to-consumer type play, like a fantasy football, or you're licensing the data out, all of those create new opportunity and sponsor opportunities for a sports league and rights holder. So this is football. There's lots of examples of this type of data around the room. If you experience this and walk around, you can see some pretty compelling examples of how data is being applied. So that's competition data, and there's fan data. This is newer. So historically, the way the sports are distributed is through media partners and then through a cable or a satellite distributor. So the league was multiple steps away from the fan. And now it's very important that leagues start to develop that direct-to-consumer relationship and opportunity to engage with the fan. So they have to find ways to bridge that. So you can see what the NBA is doing with the NBA ID. You need that if you want to have NBA League Pass, but there's other benefits that are increasingly tiered that create opportunity for the fan of why I might give you my information about my fandom as a basketball fan, a Steph Curry fan, an Atlanta Hawks fan. So that's a really compelling example. I'm starting to see some of the fun things they're doing with that. And then certainly as you attend a sporting event at places like the SoFi Stadium, it is increasingly tech-driven, and how they're using the data about you as a fan to personalize your experience even before you arrive is a big focus. This is new, and it's pretty transformational because today you experience sports on game day. With fan data, you're not just a fan on the day of the game. You're not just a fan if you're at the game, you're a fan all the time. And we can really start to use that data to expand that fandom to be 365 days a year, home, away, on the go, in your house, at the stadium. So that is a very big opportunity that the sports leagues are looking at. We're happy to partner with them on that. The challenge with that is its complexity. It goes back to the privacy. The distribution and use of my data as an individual and all of yours is not something we just want to get out there. We need to understand how to control that to drive that upsize and that opportunity. So our belief is disruptions on the horizon. If you watch the news, you're starting to see stories about media rights being retained, people wanting to go direct to consumer, have league-owned and operated TV networks and TV platforms. All of that is driving data. Private equity flowing into sports. They're looking for returns. They're looking for new monetization levers. They're looking for data, right? So how do we maximize the value of the data that's available and create new revenue streams off of it? Data is going to be a big part of that. So the areas where we see opportunity, and we'll talk about today, are new competition formats. How do you create, with existing sports, how do you create additional storytelling around it and new ways to play? And how do you create brand new sports, which is the story of TGL? With personalized fan experiences, how can we reimagine what that fan experience looks like again, 365 days a year? There's a lot of emotional connection and brand that's been built with the teams that you follow. How do we pull that out of you and get it into your travel, get it into your everyday shopping experiences? B2B2C use of that data and use of that fandom is something that we think will grow over time. And then on that point, marketing partners. People spend a lot of money to associate themselves and their brands with sports. They're increasingly asking for data and profiles about people that like their brands as much as they are marketing impressions. We've talked to a major team who is talking with a major advertiser about the need. They'd rather have 500 data profiles about their product at the end of game day than incremental 100,000 impressions. That's a big step. That's a big move forward. We know how to deliver impressions. We don't know how to reliably deliver data profiles. So that's something that we think is on the frontier. So we'll shift now into two examples that show some of the items that I've talked about. First, we'll talk about competition data, which is the story of TGL, which is a brand new data-driven sport. And then we'll follow up with the PGA of America and the PGA Championship and how they're using data to drive robust fan engagement at this year's championship. So TGL, just show of hands, who's heard of it? A few. It's a really cool concept. It's launching on January 7th. The backstory on this is Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy, and Mike McIlroy, who's the former CEO of the Golf Channel, came together to think about how they could build a tech-driven, tech-infused concept. They started a company called Tomorrow Sports, which has some very notable investors, some of which you can see here, that are all interested in that same passion. How do we bring technology into sport to bring new audiences, engage them in new ways? So TGL, in partnership with the PGA Tour, is that first investment that they're making. It's a team golf format, which I'll talk about in a moment. There's 6 teams of 24 PGA Tour players. The best players in the world are part of this. And there's some marquee owners. So Arthur Blank, the founder of Home Depot Falcons. Fenway Sports, Alexis Ohanian, the founder of Reddit. There's some big hitters that are coming in here and very excited to see how technology can drive the future of sport. And it's made for TV. So it's Monday Night Golf is the best way to think about it. This starts, like it says here, on January 7th, after the Monday Night Football window is over, and it goes through the winter. And it's a pretty compelling open TV slot for ESPN. So it's 2 hours live action competition made for TV. What's interesting about it is it's played indoors. Most of the time people think about golf being played outdoors. That's certainly what happens on the PGA Tour. This isn't an arena. You can see the field of play there on the right, roughly the size of a football field. And it brings some different data. It's purely driven by data and technology from start to finish. It creates a very different type of experience. So we'll go a little bit deeper into that. So this is the screen zone. You start by hitting off of, that's real turf, that's real rough, where I usually hit from, and then sand, where I also hit from frequently. And you hit into a huge monitor. And you start there. These are all data-rich virtual courses that you play in. So we can, as we design these, you can remove the constraints like mowing the grass, or you can never put a golf hole here. All of those types of physics just go away, and we're able to create very different, very exciting holes. So I'll show you what's right now is my favorite one, which is called Temple.
This is the Temple, a par 4, approximately 500 yards that we found in the mountains. And this is a very special design because, again, it talks about the simplicity. How with just 2 forms, 2 triangles pinched in the center can give us so much excitement where the strategy concentrates. Depending on what approach shot you want to create, you can either lay back and you will have to make a longer shot, more than 200 yards onto the green zone. We have placed the green to reward the most aggressive shot. Take a little bit of a risk and find yourself rewarded with a shorter shot onto the green zone. I think we're in for a treat with this hole.
So that's cool, right? You're never going to build a golf hole on top of a mountain that you can't access. It creates some interesting risk-reward types of challenges, and we think it'll really build some cool gamification. So that's the screen zone. What's interesting about this is, so you start playing in this virtual environment, in those virtual holes, but then you end up in the green zone, right? So the idea here is that you can see the simulator at the end of the arena here. You hit into that, and then you end up in the arena, and we'll click into that here in a second. But it's intimate. It's very, very close. You can see how close the fans are. Imagine an NBA courtside type experience where fans are rooting you on, and there's a Boston team, there's a New York team, and we know what happens when they come together and how they interact. How do we build that experience into the golf world? So that all happens in the green zone.
TGL isn't simulator golf. It's much more. After teams hit their tee or approach shots into our massive screen and are near the green, they'll walk over to the green zone. Opposite the screen zone area, the green zone, which is the size of 4 basketball courts, has a 360-degree rotating turntable with real sand-filled bunkers and a tech-infused green. Its adaptable surface and multiple pin locations create hole-to-hole variations, offering thousands of possibilities. This is TGL, presented by SoFi, coming January on ESPN.
So you can see the players are playing golf. They're hitting real golf shots into virtual and simulated environments, and they finish in real life. There's data that's captured all along the way, and that's what's driving the new sport. So the sport wouldn't exist without data. In other sports, you can keep playing when the technology breaks. In this case, you can't, right? So it's a very different type of experience that we're really excited about to see. And a lot of the work that we've done is around how do you create a compelling 2-hour TV cast to utilize that format and really tell a story, create drama. So the format here you can see explained. There's triples matches, alternate shots. So you think about the tempo and the risk reward scenario. Where you put your long hitter really is going to matter, and how you approach the hole from a team mentality is going to matter a lot. And then everyone wants to see Tiger play, right? So you want to see him play a one-on-one match at the end. So you play the triples matches first. This is all team scoring, so you earn points along the way, and the end of score is 7-4, 7-6, typical baseball type scores that you might see. Shot clock. There's not a shot clock, and normally when I play golf, some people get on the clock, but there's a shot clock to encourage pace of play. It also encourages team dynamics. So one of the things we've been seeing in testing is somebody will hit a shot, we know where it's going to land in the simulator, and their teammate is going over and starting to read the putt before the player comes up to hit it. It takes them a while to understand how to play it, so the team aspect of this is really interesting. Timeouts, icing a putt, taking more time to read it on a critical putt. Those are all things that we're excited about. And then the hammer it's basically a points multiplier. So if you have the advantage of a hole and you have the hammer, you can throw it and it now doubles the point total. So there's a lot of strategic thought that needs to go into how and when you use the hammer. If you hold it and you're winning, do you bet it, or do you just hold it and keep the team from other team from being able to come back? And there's a referee to manage all of this, and we know that they can also become part of the game. So we did a lot of the work here to test this out, to get the right cadence. What is the right number of holes? All of those things to fit into the block to create the right drama. And then all of this, as we said, creates a lot of data, a lot of it. And this is all built on top of AWS. What's exciting about this is it's an event-driven architecture. There's multiple events that we're tracking. It's all built on top of a ledger that's all forward written. So we have every piece of data. We're able to stage it in different ways and really manage a very complex data model that's coming out of it for the broadcast, the gaming partners, the fans, and so forth. So there's a lot going on here that we're really excited about and happy to talk about more. So what's next? We have a lot of work to do still. We're launching on January the 7th. Brand new sport. We're learning a lot as we go. So we're very focused on the launch. I encourage you to go to tgl.golf.com. There's a lot of content. You can click on all the holes and watch it and follow along as we launch. But I think longer term, this can be a catalyst for growth for simulator golf. We have the full swing simulators back here in the corner, and thinking about your ability to play along or play with or play against Tiger and some of the best players in the world, it changes the dynamics of how participatory sports could potentially work. So very excited about that. Also excited about other sporting formats that could come to bear through Tomorrow Sports and through this type of format. So we've got an activation over here behind that huge golf ball. Come visit us. We're happy to talk more about TGL, and we can help you pick your new favorite sports team. So that's all about competition data. Again, creating a new product. This is a story more about fan data and how personalized fan experiences are driving a deeper connection with the fan and a greater outcome for their day. So the PGA Championships, an annual tournament, is one of golf's 4 majors. This year was played in Louisville, Kentucky at Valhalla. The PGA invested in new app infrastructure, which we helped them with, that had a much greater capability for notifications, a lot more geofencing and location tracking for us to drive engagement. So you can see, what you might experience here on the screen in terms of navigating your day. So with that capability, we went through and mapped out across 7 different personas. So you can see here the casual fan and a corporate executive who's being entertained, and mapped their day across 52 different touch points, understanding the things that they might be interested in engaging with and where they might start. And your start point then impacts how we engage you going forward. So if you're coming in from out of town, we had geofence the airport. If you're coming in the parking lot versus rideshare, it means different things. If you're on hole 7 versus hole 12, something different's happening for you, and we can take that data. And what we did here was we pre-programmed logical triggers that would be data-driven that then would just fire once you walked into that geofence. So that was all done before the championship arrived, and then we sat in the command center and watched what happened, right? So we had heat mapping and the ability to then customize and change the data notifications that were sent out along the way. So we looked at competition data. So what was the score? We looked at where the fan was and what we knew about them. And we looked at operational data to then inform contextual messages that we could drive. So the one that you see here is the Tiger, on the right is the Tiger tracker. So you started on hole 10, which is about halfway in the middle there. And you can see the fan base following Tiger along. And we sent messages along the way. So the one you see that's is the example is, hey, you're coming towards the end of your round. You also happen to be coming up on the merchandise tent. So how can we send you a subtle notification that as you're done following Tiger, there's an opportunity for you to go in and do some shopping. We also sent forward messages if you were hanging out on hole 16 and he was on hole 12. It may be a good time to go to go get a beer and come back before the crowds arrive and you can see them come through. So very contextual messages that gave us an opportunity to plan out. Now, if you remember, Scotty Scheffler had a little incident there in Kentucky. And you have to plan for chaos. I mean, and it was really great because we were able to harness all this data and understand where fans were and inform them of what was happening just to kind of to keep things moving. So that was a big learning there for sure. So here's a quick video of what it looked like.
My day at the PGA Championship was a breeze. When I got on site, I downloaded the app and texted a friend to meet up and watch a JT and Xander. I wasn't sure what time they teed off, so I asked the chatbot and found him on 8 green. Over lunch, I got a notification to check out the PGA shop. And now my husband owns this nifty hoodie because he totally needs another one in the closet. I met a girl outside the shop who kept saying how sweet this speakeasy was. And despite speakeasies being intentionally hard to find, I had no trouble navigating my way there. The PGA Championship app came in clutch all day long. Thanks to PGA of America and its partnership with Captech, I was able to enjoy the day my way at the 2024 PGA Championship.
So results. Our target from previous years was to get a 2% open rate. And then of those that opened it, we wanted 50% to come back and re-engage in the app. What we achieved for the audiences we were able to identify and then get into our optimized fan pass, we drove 4.5x that, so 450% improvement to roughly 8.5% open rate on messages that we sent. And for then those that opened it, they came back on average 3.5 times. So way deeper engagement. They came back looking for opportunities to engage and navigate around their day. And this was all done with, just remember, 2 dimensions: where you were and then the messages that we fired to you via the app. So as we add more data in, we think we can do more interesting things. And this one other thing to note out here is the partner message. We did pretty well in terms of optimizing messages to get better impressions for the PGA Championship marketing partners as well, which is a pretty good, strong result. So where are we going? I mentioned we're adding more data into it. The amount of data that's flowing through is not manageable without the use of AI. So as we're expanding into the Women's PGA Championship and to some of the other year-long PGA of America events like the PGA Junior League, we're looking at how we can build AI agents to help us do our job better. How do we, so the example you see on the left there is AI interpretation of fan flow in and out of popular places such as the bar. So these are where people are pouring drinks. And we were able to understand how this is AI interpreting what was happening, where they're coming from, and where they were going. So we can use that to inform what's the next journey. So I told you we built 7 journeys. The middle image here is AI or Gen AI journey maps. So we're able to put in context of a golf course or any sporting venue to identify the intricacies and the nuances of that venue. And then where different things are going to be staged and how we put them together. And then AI can begin to create the journey maps for us. So we can create them at scale and then optimize those journeys in real time to then create personalized content out. So this is an AI agent that we'll build and use over the course of the winter before next May's PGA Championship. So super excited about that. All right, so those 2 examples. That one, fan data, how we're using that, how PGA Championship's using that, and then how TGL is thinking about using competition data to change what sports looks like. Bold prediction from me is data rights will overcome the value of media rights. Not so bold as to say when. I would say 5 years, maybe, probably not. 20 years, definitely. As you look at the trends of reclaiming media rights, going direct to consumer, what partners are asking for to get more integrated data partnerships, all of those things are going to converge and create new opportunities to use and monetize the data. And I do think that relationship will inverse and it becomes a major revenue stream in sports. It's a generational shift in how we think about it, both as partners in the sports world, but also just as fans. And it could be a pretty fundamental shift to how marketing occurs, given the value placed on sports marketing. So, see you here in 20 years, maybe. So how we work with that, our framework is pretty simple. You can see it here. A lot of modernization work needs to be done to get your data and technology platforms, both on the competition operations side, as well as on the fan and partner data sharing domain, to be able to service and enable all those cool innovations to occur. So a lot of work is being done on that today. A lot of investment in that, and then data rights management. So how that data is distributed, governed, and managed, critically important to get the right value placed on that data. For scoring data, that's a little more straightforward, as it will be in the future for fan data. Clean rooms, data sharing, all of those things are coming into play, and there's just some pretty exciting data rights management conversations occurring there. And of course, once all that's in place, the ability to create new products and business model innovation is very clearly there. It'll be exciting to see how innovation and startups continue to emerge to fuel the growth. So our keys and guiding principles as we partner with rights holders as well as sports marketers that are looking at this from a slightly different angle are these 5 here. So own your data. If you don't own it and control it, you can't fully monetize it. And that trend is very clear that people are working towards it. Know your fan. We work a lot in banking and financial services. The idea of know your customer to get your money from a bank is a pretty important one. And we're applying a lot of the same principles with our clients in this domain. So if you don't know your customer better than anyone else, or you know your fan better than anyone else, it's going to be pretty hard to build the right experience for them. And if you don't, somebody else will. So really hard on that. It's all about value creation. In the PGA Championship example, we didn't really think about how to drive the next marketing impression, or the next transaction. We thought about how to tell the fan what was interesting for them to make their day better. So we created value for them, and then that turned into an outcome. So start there, not on marketing impressions. And then start now. This is not going to be hey, next year everything's changed. It's going to be a 5 or 10 year journey, but we've got to start investing into it, learning. We'll certainly make some mistakes along the way, but we can learn together on how we do it. And then finally, ingenuity and creativity on how you're using the data. Take a chance. I mean, Tiger, TGL, that's a big swing. Very different approach. We'll see how it turns out, but it could be very transformative. And how you use the data will be a defining competitive advantage, we think, going into the future. And with that data, you're going to have AI and AI agents around it to help you scale. Thank you. That's what we had for today. Really appreciate the time and the audience. This is fantastic. Thank you. We'll be around over here for questions.